Hi, I'm Jay Gruenke, founder of The Balanced Runner, and I've been helping runners from beginner to Olympian improve their form and performance since 2003. And I'm here today with another stuck-at-home running form tip from my living room to yours, helping you use this time as an opportunity to become a better runner. We've been talking about breathing this week, and I want to talk now about the classic posture that people think of as impairing your breathing. And that is correct. And why it does that, and the right and the wrong way to fix it, or the wrong and the right actually is how we'll be doing that. So, most of the videos you find on YouTube about your breathing are trying to correct this organization, this posture, right? That people who run like this, and then it's hard to get enough air. Now, the last two videos, I was actually talking about how actually overly tightening your core really impairs your ability to breathe in a very powerful way, and the way that leaning interacts with that. So these are very strong tools in your toolbox to help you just stop having breathing problems without necessarily working with your breathing. But if you're a runner who does tend to slouch, this is not a forward lean. This is a rounded back. And actually, when you do this, you can't lean forward. It keeps your head is in front of your pelvis, but you notice in general from hip to shoulder that it's a vertical line, right? Which is the head in front. This does impair your breathing, and the reason why is pretty simple. So you've got you've got these massive, basically sponges, which is what your lungs are. So not balloons really, but they're just like a sponge. They're made of an untold number of alveoli, these tiny little air sacs, like holes in a sponge. And like a sponge expands, takes in water, or when your lungs expand, they take in oxygen. And then when they contract, they take in air. And when they contract, then they squeeze air back out. The air coming in will have more oxygen, and the air going back out will have more carbon dioxide. So they need to be able to expand and contract. And although the most important area to expand and contract is your lower lungs, which are larger and they have more air sacs and more blood vessels to take the oxygen and get it into circulation in your body. And so the movement of your diaphragm is most important for that. And the slouching that we're talking about tends to happen up here. But notice that when I do that, my entire sternum, this bone here, goes down. And you could imagine, you can see my shirt wrinkles a little bit. So that's what's happening to all of my ribs here as well. They are folding together so that they are less able to expand and contract. And so I've basically dramatically reduced the ability of at least the front part of my lungs to expand and fill with air and then contract and get air out. Now, at the same time, I've increased the expansion of my lungs in the back, but the back is less mobile. So the sternum, the ribs attached to the sternum, and the sternum can move with your breathing. And even with abdominal breathing, it's not an either or thing. Your sternum is going to move. You are going to use your whole lungs, and your rib cage is going to expand in every direction, including forward. But whereas your sternum can move with your breathing, your spine is less able to do that. And every rib is attached to your spine. And so there's a bit less, the ribs themselves can still fan apart and come together on the side like this. But your spine is not going to move the way your sternum moves. And so there's less expansion, contraction that can happen there. And also, once you've slouched, you've pushed your lungs into expansion in the back, and now they can't contract. So for good breathing, you have to both get air in and air back out again. So there's room for the new air coming in. And inability to contract is as detrimental as inability to expand. And so you've set up a situation here where your lungs are compressed and can't expand in the front. they're expanded and can't compress in the back. Whereas if you are vertical, your lungs would, in every direction, be able to expand and contract. So that's a really significant reduction in your ability to take in air and get it back out again so that you can take in more, even if your diaphragm's working. And then in addition, because you've pushed your sternum down and excuse me, and compressed this area where your diaphragm sits underneath your rib cage, you've compressed it and effectively pushed your diaphragm down. People's bellies tend to pooch out when they slouch like this. Now your diaphragm cannot easily move farther down into your abdomen when it contracts downward to draw air in. And so your diaphragm function is also going to be less. So it really is true. I mean, it's not often I stand here and say what everybody says about slouching being bad for your breathing. What everybody says is true, but it is. It is. And running like this is really going to limit your breathing. And as I've said before, that's going to impact your performance in a very direct way, because you're just not going to have the fuel in the form of oxygen that you need for your muscles and your brain. But then also, excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat today. Also, you're going to have to work harder for all of the breathing that you do. And then your respiratory muscles get fatigued. And when they become fatigued, I mean, because they're working harder, they're using more fuel. And when they become fatigued, then you just feel fatigued, even if your legs otherwise would still be able to keep going. And so that's just like performance just hits a wall at that point. So I'm very conscious of my own breathing as I talk about breathing here. So you do need to straighten up in order to breathe better if this is how you've been running. It would be like this. And if this is how you've been running, probably also your knees bother you, perhaps also your lower back bothers you. Certainly you'd be more predisposed to having plantar fascia problems as well. So there are a lot of reasons why you want to get out of it. Something startled Leroy. Why you want to get out of this organization. But the answer is not to work your back muscles and pull your shoulders back to straighten up, because then you're just locking in place in another way. And like I said, your lungs, your ribs need to expand in every direction. They need to fan apart on the side like an accordion. If you imagine somebody opening up an accordion and it's not, they can do it so that just one side of the accordion fans apart. They can do it so that just the other side fans apart. They can just pull the two ends apart and it gets bigger in every direction. And that's how we want to think about our breathing. It happens in every direction. And when you tighten your back muscles and pull your shoulders back, you're pushing your chest up and forward. I may go a little more deeply into this tomorrow, but actually I won't, because I can't do a live stream tomorrow because I have an all-day conference. So maybe I'll take the time to talk a little bit more about this today. So when you do that, you push your chest up and forward and you lock it there so that it can't easily go down. And so, again, as we talked about yesterday, if you activate the muscles that would lift your chest, and you keep them activated, that biases you towards chest breathing. You can probably hear my son playing violin for his school violin class in the background. Apologies for that noise. We're just all here at home. You bias yourself towards chest breathing and away from diaphragmatic breathing. And that is also going to reduce the amount of oxygen that you get. So that's actually really counterproductive. Again, this idea that you're having your chest open is fundamental for good breathing is not correct, because you really need your diaphragm to work well. You need to not be slouched, But you need to actually change the way you're organizing your whole body so that you can straighten up without tensing any new muscles, without any muscle contractions that would hold continuously. So running is a dynamic action. There's no one part of your body that is supposed to hold during that act. It all needs to move. And also any tensing that you do in your upper back or in your shoulders is going to impair your core action, and that's going to increase your effort in running, which will raise your oxygen demand. So then you're not necessarily better off on the breathing front, because suddenly you need to breathe more. It's going to still reduce the amount of air that you get in over what you would be able to get in if you were free from any sort of chronic tension in your upper body. And even your diaphragm is not going to be able to rise and descend very well because of your stiffened position. So do not work to straighten up. But there's no one thing that straightens you up except perhaps your core action when you run. So you want your, again, straightening up means that you're straight on a forward angle rather than slouched on a forward angle. And it's your core action, the counter rotation of your body, that keeps you from getting stuck here or getting stuck here. And then it's also learning to use your glutes to support your head. And so I'm going to just put a link in the description below to my Mind Your Running challenge. So it's a free 1-week challenge, each day a 10-minute lesson about how everything, to help you feel how everything works together to keep you out of here, and in a whole body organization that makes your running feel much easier, thus lowering your oxygen need while simultaneously making it easier to breathe. And that adds up to a huge improvement in performance and also enjoyment when you run, because running is not fun if you're struggling for air, goodness knows, or fighting your body. So that's the overall picture here. And that must have been clear, hopefully, because I don't see any questions. So I'm just going to wrap it up here. If you found this video valuable, then please hit like so that YouTube knows to share it with other runners who need this information. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so and click the bell icon so you get notifications and don't miss a video. And please check out the Mind Your Running challenge if you haven't done it. That challenge is those short little bits. Like, it took me 15 years of professional work, one-to-one with runners, countless runners, in order to be able to boil things down to such a simple little package. I'm immensely proud of it, and I hope that you will do it. So please do that. I will not be here tomorrow because I have an online conference, but I will not be here over the weekend because it's the weekend. But I will see you again on Monday. So take care and enjoy your running.